Two of the best phones that you can buy right now are the Google Pixel 8 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which pits AI against precision and power, and it means that only one can be considered the best. Let's work out which is the best device for you. Android or iOS, the differences between this duo are diminishing more and more with each passing update, but right up top, I would say pick the operating system that you prefer if you are on the fence and have used these for a long time. That said, the Pixel definitely has some awesome features and the iPhone has some cool stuff of its own, so let's dive in to decide if you do not know which one is right for you, which you should go out and buy. Visually, I would say there's not actually much similar here. The Pixel is soft and rounded, the iPhone is more sharp and owned. Even the colours are very far apart, with bright bold colours from Google and muted tones from Apple. A case is probably going to hide these anyway, so unless you plan on getting a clear case, it might not matter to you all that much. But it is hard to argue that the Pixel has some lovely colours which do look a lot different to other devices out there. The camera bar is also not just a striking design difference in the Pixel 8 Pro, it means you won't get your fingers in the way when you're taking photos. With the wide-angle lens on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I must admit you can sometimes get your fingers in shots depending on how you grip your device. 3 lenses are also a lot more exposed on that device and you can smudge them more often, but both phones do have 3 camera lenses. Apple has finally caved and added USB-C to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and that is actually great for accessories and chargers. You can now use almost any USB-C device as a peripheral natively, and it even has video out for screen mirroring, something that's still missing on the Pixel 8 Pro, but it might come with a future software update. Another hardware difference is in the usage of eSIM only in the US for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can though use a physical SIM and an additional eSIM with the Pixel 8 Pro in all regions. In the rest of the world though, it is worth noting that we do have a SIM slot on the 15 Pro Max, which does make it easier to quickly switch out numbers or networks, which is just better for traveling, and you do have that in conjunction with an eSIM there too. There's also a new action button on iOS that can be programmed to quick launch into applications, software-based shortcuts, or simply just mute the device as the mute switch did previously. It's a neat extra button, and you could easily argue though that the Pixel doesn't need a feature like this because Android has more under the hood options out of the box, but it is a good option to have, especially as iOS has become a little bit more flexible over the last few years. A gimmicky temperature sensor is only found on the Pixel 8 Pro. It's not even very accurate in our testing and isn't useful for much, but it is there if you do want the option. Things start to stack up nicely across the board outside of those hardware differences on these devices. They have the same screen sizes, the exact same screen refresh rates, they have a flat layout which is really nice, but there's also some minor changes in resolution. Where the Pixel 8 Pro is better is in the overall screen brightness. It hits 2400 nits versus 2000 nits on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The screen notch is also a lot smaller on the 8 Pro, but it doesn't have any fancy features apart from software-based face unlock, which can now be used with banking applications. Apple's big pill-shaped punch hole interacts with software more readily, which is a neat way of trying to make things more visually appealing while adding some extra functionality, and it works with lots of applications now. Android 14 is absolutely stuffed to the brim with customization options on Pixel phones, and there are some AI-powered functions here like Magic Editor, which lets you do cool things like move subjects in an image, spot removal and touch-ups, and then more on top of that. Audio Magic Eraser is a new feature that lets you mute annoying sounds in videos and reduce background noise, and Best Take could be one of the perfect tools for family portraits, as it gives you options to make changes well after a photo has been taken. You can't actually do that on the iPhone once that shutter button has been pressed. For still photography, the differences are mostly down to tuning here. The Pixel 8 Pro though is fantastic in point and shoot scenarios with better skin tone reproduction and most importantly zoom range. Up to that 5x zoom level, the major differences here are colour tonal mapping. Beyond that though, the Pixel 8 Pro will edge it in most shooting scenarios and has a greater zoom range of 30 times. However, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is still excellent in its own right at handling image details, contrast, and then obviously more on top of that. The iPhone 15 Pro Max though really excels in video recording with log profiles, better handling of lens switching while you're recording video itself, and generally offers what could be considered the best mobile video ever. You will get great 4K UHD 60 FPS on the Pixel 8 Pro, but it's not quite as versatile or consistent as video shot with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. One area that previously would have been an instant window for the iPhone is update cadence. For the first time ever though, the Pixel 8 Pro could actually be supported for longer than an Apple flagship phone. Apple is a little bit coy about its update schedules, but Google is out there offering 7 years of support for the 8 Pro, the longest on an Android phone ever. Apple will likely offer a similar update plan, but that seems to stop around that 6-year mark based on previous releases. However, when we do compare just how powerful each phone is, the Pixel 8 Pro is quite a major step down here. Will that matter to you? Well, that depends heavily upon what you plan to do with your phone, but currently it's hard to tell the difference apart, at least visually. Material U on Android is softer and more personal than iOS 17, but it is more about the interoperability with Apple and that being a key component of its strengths. Everyday smartphone tasks are absolutely no problem with either phone, that's all you probably need to know. Intense things like video rendering or editing are marginally better on the iPhone, as processing does take a lot less time. Maybe the Pixel will have issues later down the line, but it'll be a long time before problems start to be pronounced. You'll have a great time using the phone and nothing is off limits, especially right now. As for battery longevity, Google relies on big batteries in their devices, but it has added some tuning for power consumption that is immediately evident on the Tensor G3. Battery life though has always been a strong area for iPhone devices, and the 15 Pro Max is absolutely no different. It certainly has a greater overall lifespan than the Pixel 8 Pro in our testing, but it doesn't actually charge as fast. You can also limit the battery charge capacity to 80% manually on the iPhone to help with long-term battery health. This is controlled by software on the Pixel and you can't manually do that. But on top of that, it's also worth noting that no, you don't get a charger free with either model. Which is the better overall buy? Well, from a pure value for money perspective, the Pixel 8 Pro is the winner by quite a margin. It's cheaper, but it also is worth noting that the base model does come with 128GB less storage than the Pro Max. The support window is potentially a lot longer, and there are some genuinely cool AI camera and software features that will no doubt improve your everyday life once you start using them. It's easily the best Pixel and one of the best phones that you can go out and buy right now for under $1,000. Credit where it's due though, the iPhone 15 Pro Max does excel in many areas of its own, like battery longevity, the raw power under the hood, and while I will say the camera quality is good, the video recording quality does smoke more or less every other phone out there. It's the best iPhone that you can buy today, and it does finally have USB-C, so it should play nicely with more of your non-Apple tech, which is definitely a big bonus. Do you think though that we've made the right call based upon those factors? Is the Pixel 8 Pro better value than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, or does Apple edge it once again? Tell me down in the comment sections below. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.